kids in there where they have to go to get better, but that's one of the biggest things I see overall when we talk about scouting. And the younger age groups at 16U for the NA, when we're looking at 03s now, one of the biggest things, not only gameplay, hockey IQ, and hockey sense, I think they use that word now, hockey sense, right? But just the ability to showcase the ability to actually be able to see the ice, to have that speed. And it's reaction speed, right? A lot of it's just reaction speed. Can you see the play? Can you react to that play? Can you see 2 plays ahead? Are you seeing it develop, and or are you just hanging onto the bull pretty much?
What's the biggest difference? The biggest thing that's separate? I mean, when you get down to it, you look at college hockey with 140 or so NCAA teams combined at the D1, D2, D3 levels. Some people have said there's more D1 players than there are teams right now because there's like 65 D1 teams or something like that. You look at the level that separates kids that are playing D1 and D3. There's plenty of D3 players that could play D1. Yep. Looking at the junior level, the difference between like a premier level and EHL player and a tier 2 player, what's the biggest thing that separates those kids from what you've seen?
All right, so the biggest word to use is speed, and it's not speed as in skating speed, because that's everyone just assumes that when you use the word speed, it's everything. It's speed of pass, speed of skate, speed of shot, speed of react, speed of adapt, and it's all of that, and how a player needs to be able to see it, and that's the biggest key for some things. For premier players in EHL, I've noticed a lot of the kids, they see the game, they understand it, they've been coached well, they understand like center lane drives, they understand that, but you'll see them, they'll come down on some 3-on-2s, they'll come on some odd man rushes, and they'll put themselves in bad areas to take bad angle shots instead of doing a Gretzky turn or post it or pulling up and then waiting for options. And a lot of that is just, speed, reaction speed, and your mind is thinking, and it's always thinking on the ice. And you get to that point where, all right, I'm exhausted of thinking, let's take take the only option we think is available. And that's the biggest thing. That's like when you look at tier 2 players and tier 1 players, their mental capacity is a little bit bigger. They're not at speed. They don't get exhausted mentally. Right. In terms like that.
You don't have to be the fastest guy, right? I mean, Jaromir Jagr made a career out of being able to slow the game down to the pace he wanted. Strong, protected the puck, saw the ice, could use his body to create opportunities for himself, but then see the ice and set somebody else up. So, you don't have to be the fastest guy, but you've got to be able to process and make plays and put your team in a better position at a high level, a high rate of speed.
Yes, at a high rate of every speed.
And you've coached at level 2, Ben, so your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so this brings up, actually, it makes me think back to conversations I've had recently with players and with the Hockey Night in Boston groups especially. One of the lines I throw out there, because I know, teenage kids, it blows their mind when they start to think about it, but time is not a physical thing. And I talk about this all the time. You hear on an NHL broadcast or whatever, creating time and space. Time isn't physically, do you have 2 seconds to make a play? Time is what's in your head of how quickly your brain is processing. 2 seconds for Gretzky is much different than 2 seconds for me in that same situation on the NHL ice, right? Like, he can make a decision and make a play in that 2 seconds where I can't because his brain is moving at that speed.
Along those lines, too, sometimes simple is better. The understanding of the game that let's not try to toe drag out of the D zone. Let's not try to make a saucer pass through traffic to break out. Let's look at the guy 10 feet away who's wide open and get it to him, and let's get up the ice.
Yeah, well, that's unfortunately something that we see a lot, especially at the AAA level, 15U and 16U, is how many toe drags at the blue line, how many toe drags even at the red line, which never happened. But to take those and to simplify for those kids and understand, like, hey, when you go to these NA camps, when you go to these main camps, that's going to be one of the biggest things they'll know right away. Like, I'm not going to get away with that toe drag anymore. So it's really good for me, like, when we talk about U16 players and U15 players moving on to the NA, Ben said it, adaptive, be mentally, it's just mental exhaustion.
We tell the kids like the speech today at the end for me, I'll let you guys do your thing and talk about the X's and O's. For me, it's about forcing yourself to play the right way, wherever you're playing. If you're going into a high school game, scoring 6 goals might look good to the girls watching in the stands, but are you doing that the right way? Are you moving the puck, or are you skating through the entire team of weaker players, creating bad habits? If you are playing the wrong way when you're on the ice, if you're not moving the puck to the open person, if you're not giving a consistent effort, if you're just getting by, why not have a goal and 3 assists and get better that day, as opposed to just being dominant against players who are considerably weaker than you?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about developing good habits. To kind of throw back to one of the things Anthony said before, and asking yourself the question of, am I ready now? Or a scout was watching and thinks to himself, is this guy ready right now? It's more so about, because there's so many good coaches out there now that are working on individual skills with players. Every player can, move the puck well, shoot well, skate well, whatever it is, or vast majority of players can. Now it's, can you put that all together in the game? Can you make the right decision at the right time? All that sort of stuff. And there's on any given team, especially it gets less as you move up through the ranks, but how many teams have even one spot available for a project player, right? You have to be ready today. There's plenty of guys that are like, man, he's got all the skill. If he can put it together, if I could work with him for 6 months. But as a head coach of an NA team or whatever, I don't have time for that. I don't have time to work on this project. I have 19 other projects I have to work on.
Yep. Segueing into our teams and our summer showcases and our spring showcases, Coach Mazzo, you've been around many teams that do this in the summer. We try to be different in that we try to teach the kids something. We give them a few systems to work with to help make them look a little better, but we test their coachability a little bit. We try to expose them to things that maybe they don't think about otherwise. We don't just collect a check, throw 20 guys on the ice with limited playing time. We keep the numbers manageable. We try to give people a lot of ice time, but we try to give them valuable feedback to help them be scouted better, but also to play at a better level whenever they want to in the future. Just from your experiences, how are we accomplishing what we're trying to accomplish? How are we different? What things do we do maybe that others don't do?
Well, I think you're ahead of the curve. I think a lot of hockey now, especially social media wise, you're starting to see more and more hockey take off. You're seeing more companies put their stuff on Instagram. You're now seeing more skills instructors get out there and actually see it. What you're doing for DMV Prospects, you're ahead of the curve, and ahead of the curve in how you market your players, how you make sure coaches are here to see your players. I mean, Scott, you call me, I'm here to see your players. You call most of the same people that even your son has played for, and they'll come, we'll watch, and they'll give valuable feedback to all your players. And that's the number one thing, to get feedback, because even criticism, like all of it, it's just a blueprint to get better. If you take the tone out of any criticism, it's just a blueprint to get better. That's what that person's telling you. So to sit down with all these kids and actually give them a plan to get better in the summertime, to get better during the season, not just you need to get stronger, but hey, you are not getting low enough in your posture when you skate. Your stride's not reaching out. When you're going into corners, you're taking a wider angle than you ever need to. You can streamline that. And giving kids actual feedback for your games. I mean, I think you guys are way ahead of the curve in that. I think all kids should be coming out in UMass Lowell, especially this weekend, feeling really, really, really accomplished and really feel like they got everything they could have asked for. I mean, DMV just beat the Minnesota Blades. Right. Delaware, Maryland, Virginia just beat Minnesota.
Right, and two, really, the East Coast Kings and the Minnesota Blades are two programs, as far as the summer showcase circuit goes, that are two of the better ones in the country. Yeah. Generally, with Tier 2 players, D1 commits, and just, awesome for our kids to be able to come out and just play against those guys, much less to win.
Yeah. I think both me and Ben went into that game hoping, that we could jump on them early, and we did. We got 3 passed real quick, and we hung on, and we just to see that last minute goal by Finn, I mean, that just put the cherry on top. I mean, that's how you win a game.
And, that goal, I mean, not to get off on a side note, but, Avi Tanasienko was on too long.
Yeah.
Long shift, but was just working his butt off, and literally a one-man forecheck, exhausted, pinned the puck in the zone long enough, and I think Will Rosen popped off the bench and bumped the guy, and the puck went to Avi. Great, could have gone in and tried to score, but did the right thing, moved it to the open man. And if you look, I mean, Farrell was obviously excited to score the goal, but Avi was just as excited to have been contributed to it. And, that for our kids, that was pretty amazing, Ben, to be able to pull that off, especially after they came back to tie.
Well, yeah, and especially knowing that how quickly we jumped on Minnesota, knowing the skill that's on that team, that at some point they're going to come back. Like
right.
They're not going to stay asleep the entire game. So the fact that, number one, that we could hold on, that we, came together as a group, in a tough situation in defensive zone and battled through, sometimes long stretches of them holding the puck in the zone, to be even in that position to win that game just shows the resiliency of a lot of these guys and the fact that they've, finally gotten themselves in a certain respect to the level where they can play at that level, and finish that game out.
And those are two kids that are playing in Maryland this year, 14 Maryland, 18U. They're teammates. They play on private high schools, Gonzaga and St. Paul's School, against each other during the season. And, we've got a bunch of other kids that are from our area that are going to prep schools in New England. But those are two of our Maryland kids that are staying home. Just kind of illustrates that, they have just as bright a future as the kids going to prep school. They've just chosen a different route, which we always say that every kid's route is different.
Sure. And I think one of the important things to kind of go back to the question you just asked Anthony about of what he's seen from what DMV is doing, is it successful or whatnot, is one of the most important things is I think that we're teaching the kids that you can play in a lot of different places in the country. It's the work that you do in quote-unquote marketing yourself or selling yourself that makes all the difference. As long as you're playing at a high enough level, which Team Maryland obviously is, or even like Potomac Patriots are in the USPHL. They're playing at the right level. Now it's a matter of the kids doing that extra bit of work to get themselves seen. And you certainly do a great job of that with the contacts you make, but even more importantly, through the, your leadership, you're showing the guys what they need to do for themselves as well.
Great segue. I just wanted to get into the whole idea of showcases in general, spring and summer. We're fortunate to be a part. This year we were part of 5 different programs, I think. We had the pre-draft showcase in May, which is run by New England Pro-Am Sports. Same folks who run the Chowder Cup in July, and we play in both of those. We partner with Craig Laughlin on the Chowder Cup, and we're very fortunate that Craig has embraced us and our mission and letting us partner with Network Hockey on that. Hockey Night in Boston, we had 3 different teams in 3 different age groups, and then Kings of the East Coast. So really 5 different events, but within that's like 7 different teams, 7 different opportunities. And what we don't want the kids to think is that you don't have to play in all 5. Like, you need to take a break. More importantly than playing is the off ice, getting yourself fit, getting stronger, working on your skills on ice and that type of stuff in the off season. But we also provide an opportunity for some of those kids that don't always get seen to get out there. And my job, what I promise is, I'm not only going to reach out to people I'm networked with. I have a big network through Devin being recruited over the years. But like this tournament, I reached out to guys. I asked the kids who they're interested in. A lot of NESCAC schools. So I talked to Bowdoin and Colby and Middlebury and people that Devin had reached out to, but who we didn't really have a relationship with. And guys that I've never spoken to got back to me immediately and said, what are your kids' GPAs? What are your scores? And they came out. And we got NESCAC schools interested in our kids because A, they're good hockey players, B, they're good students, and C, they're good people. So that's what I do. But Maz, tell me a little bit about like what a player should do before a showcase. Like how should they approach a scout or a coach when they're coming up here to play?
Well, the first thing is obviously making contact. The email is obviously the best form of contact. You'll usually hear back from most. I don't want to speak for everyone because I'd have heard horror stories about not getting in touch.
Hamilton College, Rob Haberbush wrote right back. He said, "Scott, love the information. Thank you. We're not going to make it out this time."
Yeah.
But he read it.
At least he read it, and he got back.
Next time, if we're out in New York or if he's in the area, he comes and watches.
No, absolutely. What I love about and what I tell kids is obviously reach out via email. What you want to do in there is it depends who you're talking to. If you're talking to a coach that's not a college and you're just talking to